ride with my club mates.
But let's not beat around the bush. The reason we're here is because I'm in a holding pattern. You know, the equivalent to when aeroplanes fly round and round waiting to land. I'm in the training equivalent of that, and I suspect you are too. So here's what I'm going to do in this video today. Stick around until the end, because what I'm going to provide you with is a 2-block, 8-week maintenance phase training plan for anyone who's running any distance or training for any distance race, from 5 and 10Ks to half marathon to marathon, and perhaps I might even try and sprinkle in a bit of triathlon holding there as well. And it'll be colour coded because I love colour coding, but it will give you a training plan that if you want to, you can stick to for 8 weeks to maintain your fitness, minimise the risk of injury. And increase your chances of being able to springboard off of this training plan onto your training plan and peak for your race. That's the aim anyway. Alexa, stop. You feel like the day is just happening over and over again. Anyway, a good shower sorts out everything, and before we get into the actual training plan, what I thought would be of benefit to you and probably benefit to me talking it through is the reasons behind it and the things that you have to consider when you're going into the training plan and the things I have to consider as a coach. But first, coffee. Coffee on the couch feels so decadent, doesn't it? But it is nice, and it is one of those days. It's Saturday morning for me, so let's get into why I'm providing these training plans and what I'm thinking about as a coach when I'm approaching it. And two things really. As a coach of athletes, what I have discovered over the number of years that I've coached people is that really, other than the obvious relationship building stuff between a coach and an athlete, which is vitally important, a coach for me provides two really important and actually very simple functions, but they're two that athletes, even me when I was coached, would struggle to deal with otherwise. And that is, they provide structure and they make sure that the athlete isn't training too hard, believe it or not, because it is a default in most athletes to push themselves harder than they need. And actually, for the most part, a coach provides the structure and framework for an athlete to reel themselves back more than push themselves. So I asked Mary when she was out on her run this morning to talk about why she values structure, really, because I think from an athlete's perspective it's quite nice to hear.
Hey, I've been sticking to my plan this week, and I really like having the structure because it just gives me something to work with, keeps me motivated, keeps me on track, and really minimises the risk of not getting it done. So I feel like I've got a goal. You know, the goal each week is to complete the plan and to stick to the structure, and that works for me, so keep it coming.
Thanks Mary, hope you had a lovely run. Now, while I'm stretching, because I realised I actually forgot to stretch after the bike ride, and I stretch after every session, what I thought I would do now is talk you through firstly the other, where I see main responsibility of a coach, which is to make sure that you don't go too hard and injure yourself. And believe it or not, that's the way it tends to work with athletes, is they want to push too hard. So the other responsibility, as well as providing structure, is to keep you injury free and stop you from pushing too hard. And the way I'm going to do this in this maintenance phase is that it's going to be 8 weeks of what I would generally call a base training block, where you're putting in the miles and you're doing it all pretty much easy, and there's gaps between when you train, but you're maintaining your fitness. We're not aiming to really necessarily build your fitness too much here. What we're aiming to keep it at a nice level, a good level, so that by the end of this 8-week training plan, oh, let me just stretch legs, change legs. By the end of this 8-week training plan, we've provided, here's the plan, we provided a little springboard at the end. So your fitness is here and it's good. And then here's your race, you slot that training plan in, and this here is the springboard onto that training plan. I'll tell you what, I'll show you an example from my situation. I actually decided to use Mary as an example in the end, so I started with a timeline from race to now, put the date in of the New York Marathon, which is the 1st of November, then work backwards using the official plan Mary will be using when she trains. It's going to be a bit more tailored, but essentially it's my marathon training plan using the 17-week version. So then we know the date we need to start focused training. That's the 6th of July because it's 17 weeks before the marathon date. Then we calculate how many weeks between now and the 6th of July, and you know how long you've got to maintain for. In Mary's case, it's 11 weeks. So what we'll do is the 8-weeker I'm going to give you, plus we'll repeat the final 3 weeks to make 11. And then it's all systems go to ramp up the kilometres safely. And that is my attempt at drawing a plane to demonstrate we're in a holding pattern. Pathetic. So, while I'm eating chocolate, is anybody else eating way more chocolate than is good for them? Because this kid is. Chocolate and coffee, one of the best flavour combinations that's ever been invented, by the way. Oh, almost as good as olives and tomatoes. Anyway, oh, hang on. Okay, so at this point it might be worth just pointing out who this plan might not be for. The types of people that this plan may not benefit as much as some others. And that is people who are just starting out on their running journey and perhaps have never even run a 5k if they're going for 5 or a 10k if they're going for 10. If you want that kind of training plan, I have done those training plans and they are on my channel. So if you want to learn how to get to a 5k or if you want to get to a 10k with no specific race in mind but more the distance, then there are training plans on my channel. My mouth's gone there's a lot of saliva in my mouth because I love chocolate so much, so I'm sorry that mistimed that. So that's the first one. The second type of people that this may not benefit as much are those that are already being coached or already following a specific tailored plan that they've found because their race is within that tolerance, within that time scale, or people that already know have been through, let's say, a good number of seasons of this and know what they can and can't do, their body can and can't take. Who this plan is for are more the people that are feeling a little bit cut adrift at the moment because their races that they've been focusing on have been moved and they don't know how to maintain that fitness until they know where the race has been moved to and they can kick back in onto their training plan. Now, it is a generic plan, you know, it isn't tailored specifically to you. It's a more like a one-size-fits-all type plan, but it's aiming to just keep you injury-free, keep you ticking over, and like Mary said, keep you feeling like you have a purpose, like you are accountable. For good or bad, hopefully it helps a few of you out there just to keep that training ticking over until you're good to go again and jump into a specific tailored training plan. Okay, very briefly, the 8-week plan is split into 2 blocks of 4. They're slightly progressive, meaning that the kilometres do increase, but nothing crazy. And by the way, this is in kilometres. It's more to make you feel like you're going somewhere, and the key is orange is 5 kilometres, red is 10 kilometres, blue is half marathon, and green is marathon. Monday is always strength and conditioning day, non-negotiable, and there's plenty of examples on my channel and on YouTube in general. Your 3 runs are Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday, and Thursday is either another strength and conditioning or cross-train like bike or indoor row if you have it. Saturday is a choice between resting or another cross-train but no running. The biggest difference is for the shorter distances you'll eventually go beyond them in training, and that's okay. As I said earlier, if it's your first time doing these distances, then maybe think about following my beginner to 5k or 10k plans instead. For the longer distances you won't get near full distance, but will do enough to keep you ticking along and hopefully avoiding injury. I've found the trickiest part of half marathon and particularly marathon training is making the start line in the first place. So be sensible, play the long game, and ask me any questions that you have in the comments, and good luck. Not much else I need to say really other than I really hope it helps. That's the aim of this, sorry. Oh, I love chocolate. Right. I'll see you Tuesday, I guess. Okay, last bit, if you don't have a specific training plan for a specific race, then what I've done is I've just popped the playlist, probably here somewhere on the screen right now, that will take you to a bunch of training plans for 5k, 10k, half marathon and marathon, whether you want to do it for the first time or whether you want to get a PB. This is where you get the training plan, plus a few little nuggets on other things that you need to consider when you're putting together a training plan, and I hope that helps too.